police the structure of the blind trust.
We do, actually. Every single blind trust that's actually put in has to be approved.
And they have to, and so before, and you police then the buying and the selling and the communication back and forth between members?
We do police the communication between the members and the individuals of the blind trust. That's correct.
And so you think that that's an effective way? You're saying you think we need no changes now. You think that effectively accounts for any sort of
again, this suddenly sounds like it's personal. You're telling me what I don't do.
No, I'm just asking you a question because what we found over and over is when members of Congress have been investigated for securities violations, they have said over and over, oh, I had a trust. I didn't really know anything about it. And then as it turns out, they're communicating with their trustee, and they say, oh, we're allowed to do that. So you're telling me maybe they violated multiple laws.
No,
Here's what I would say. I think that at the end of the day, if you're asking me why do we need to eliminate blind trusts, it's because blind trusts, I think, are often workarounds because they can be structured in multiple different ways, right? There's not one way to structure blind trusts, correct? Or there's only one way?
There is a way that you have to structure it if you're in the Senate and going through ethics.
Okay, so you just saw that clip. And if that didn't get your attention, then I don't know what will. Because what we just watched is exactly what happens when someone actually tries to get something done in Washington and the system pushes back hard. Before we watch the full video, let me tell you where I stand. I've been following this congressional stock trading debate for a while now, and honestly, Josh Hawley is one of the very few people in that building who actually gets it. The American people have been saying for years that Congress should not be allowed to trade stocks while writing the laws that move the markets. And here he is, trying to put something on paper and make it law. What you're about to see is a full Senate committee hearing, and I'll warn you now, some of it is going to frustrate you. Because instead of just passing a bill that the public overwhelmingly supports, you're going to watch colleagues pick it apart piece by piece. And you'll have to ask yourself, who are they really protecting? So stay with me, watch the full video, and when it's done I'll break it all down. What it means, why it matters, and why Hawley deserves
being here and serving.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lackford.
I would like to have colloquy with the author on this one just to try to get some additional information. I happen to be the chairman of ethics, so it would actually fall on me to be able to enforce this because much of the bill itself actually comes back to ethics on it. And so I am trying to be able to track a couple of things. Senator Slotkin brought this issue up of the qualified blind trust. That has been allowed to be able to say, if you are a big stockholder and you have it, you chose to be able to sell yours off. Some others come into it and say, hey, I have stock holdings. I'm not one of those, by the way. They would come in and say, I'm going to put all this in a qualified blind trust. They're prohibited from having communication with them. That person is actually managing it, and they're separated totally. This bill would say, no, you can't do that anymore. So if you have stocks, you can't put that in a qualified blind trust any longer. Why would that be?
A couple of things. Number one, if you have a qualified blind trust and you are a member of Congress, again, you have until the beginning of your next term, should the voters see fit to reelect you.
No, I get that, but then after that, it's prohibited on it. So
correct. So for those who know ahead of time that they're going to be joining this body, they can no longer use qualified blind trusts. And the reason for that is, as you know, the rules on qualified blind trusts are not airtight. They're actually very loose. It is very difficult to police. You don't police them, and the Ethics Committee.
Well, the Ethics Committee, thank you for mentioning that. Ethics Committee does police that. So thanks for telling me what I don't do. We do police that, but
you do not police the structure of the blind trust.
We do, actually. Every single blind trust that's actually put in has to be approved.
And they have to, and so before, and you police then the buying and the selling and the communication back and forth between members?
We do police the communication between the members and the individuals of the blind trust. That's correct.
And so you think that that's an effective way? You're saying you think we need no changes now. You think that effectively accounts for any sort of
again, this suddenly sounds like it's personal. You're telling me what I don't do.
No, I'm just asking you a question because what we found over and over is when members of Congress have been investigated for securities violations, they have said over and over, oh, I had a trust. I didn't really know anything about it. And then as it turns out, they're communicating with their trustee, and they say, oh, we're allowed to do that. So you're telling me maybe they violated multiple laws. Here's what I would say. I think that at the end of the day, if you're asking me why do we need to eliminate blind trusts, it's because blind trusts, I think, are often workarounds because they can be structured in multiple different ways, right? There's not one way to structure blind trusts, correct? Or there's only one way?
There is a way that you have to structure it if you're in the Senate and going through ethics. Have you gone through that process before?
No, because I don't have any of these securities, James, because when I got elected, I sold all of my trusts and assets.
Great.
I don't have a blind trust. I practice what I preach. I don't have individual stocks. I don't trade in stocks. I'm not a billionaire, unlike others on this committee. And what I think is the American people are sending us a clear message, and I hope that they are watching this today. They're sending us a message that they want us to behave as they behave.
Right. So I'm just trying to ask some questions. I'm trying to figure out some things on this because of the way that it's shaped. I've got to be able to work through this. I do believe the qualified blind trust works. The folks that you're mentioning, I think, are folks that say, hey, I had a stockbroker, I had somebody that was handling that, but that was not a qualified blind trust. That's a very different structure to be able to have that. There's prohibited communication there. Many of the accusations that have come in the past several years have been somebody else was handling it, but it wasn't a qualified blind trust. So I was confused on why this particular one, because there haven't been accusations on that. That's somebody that comes in with some wealth, which I don't have, which you don't have. Someone with some wealth that comes in and says, hey, this family inheritance, whatever they may have, worked their whole life, got it. They could put in a blind trust over there. This also requires several things here. It requires you sell it rather than just prohibit trades. Several times I've heard you mention, hey, they shouldn't be trading in it. What about individuals that had stocks when they came? Why should they sell it to be able to be here? Why not just have a flat-out prohibition to say you can no longer buy, no longer sell? If you have it, stock market goes up and down, you can't touch it. You have to just leave it there. Why not? What was the decision to be able to say you got to sell it all rather than just you can't trade anymore?
Well, there is a ban on trading that would take effect immediately for all members, not just new members who are coming in, but for all members. So I've been saying over and over that you have until your next term, should you be reelected, in order to divest. But you make the important point that the trading would be prohibited immediately.
Right.
Your question is why even in the next term require people to divest? I think that the answer to that is because you know what you own, presumably. I mean, you know that you have assets in the following securities. That constitutes a financial interest, a pecuniary interest. And it presents a conflict of interest to be getting briefings, voting on legislation, doing these things where you know you could be increasing or decreasing the value of your portfolio.
We also have farmers that are here in Congress that they vote on farm policy, and they also have ag provisions as well. And so you can't eliminate all provisions that are out there on that. So I'm just trying to be able to figure out, this also has a reporting requirement. If someone has an FHA loan, it has to come back to ethics, or a VA loan, it has to come back to ethics. If they're involved in any of the farm programs, it has to come back to ethics, and we've got to be able to track it. I'm trying to figure out what to be able to do on this. And then it eliminates the ability for someone to own crypto or stable coin. Now, we just passed a bill allowing stablecoin to exist. I'm trying to figure out why stablecoin is now in this as well. That's just a digital asset that has the same value as cash, but it's prohibited in this. I'm trying to figure out why stablecoin is cut out on this.
Well, you say in it now. I mean, it has been in it. It's in the bill that we passed a year ago before the most recent hasn't changed.
Stablecoin we just made the change on, to be able to open up stablecoin in the regulatory basis for all Americans.
We didn't make the change in this bill. Congress passed a bill.
I get that. That's why I'm just asking why it's still in this, that there's a prohibition for that kind of digital asset. Well, it's just a dollar for dollar. It's the same as owning cash. So if you own a stablecoin, that's the same as owning a dollar. It's only worth a dollar. It doesn't change in value. But a member of Congress wouldn't be able to own a stablecoin anymore.
Correct, and it's for the same reason, the same pecuniary interest, conflict of interest provisions that we think with individual stock. I mean, you have to draw the line somewhere. We drew the line in this place over a year ago when we drafted and passed this bill.
Yeah, but I'm saying a stable coin is worth $1 today. It's worth $1. It's not a tradable asset.
If it will get your vote, James, I'd be happy to change this on the floor.
No, that's what I'm just trying. I'm asking because as the chairman of ethics, I've got to be able to actually.
And if you're concerned that it won't be, and if you're concerned that we won't be able, the ethics committee won't be able to enforce it, we will absolutely work with you. And I know the Ethics Committee is a bipartisan committee.
It is.
And I know that your Democrat colleagues would also be happy to work with you to make sure that we can enforce this. We'll get you the guidance. And I'm happy to work with anybody on the floor who actually wants to change the bill to make it better. I mean, I agree with what Senator Slotkin said. This is not a perfect bill. It's not an ideal bill. Listen, there's provisions of this bill I don't like that much. But here's my bottom line. I've been working on this is my 7th year now in the Senate. I've been working on it for 7 years. I want a bill that can pass this committee, that can pass the Senate, and that can be signed into law by the president. The ranking member and I worked for 2 years to get the compromise text last time. 2 years. Did I like everything in it? No, but you know what? We passed it through this committee. I just think this issue is too important to play politics with. We could do an easy messaging bill that would never pass. But if you want to really make a change and you want to make law, you're going to have to draw the line somewhere. So having said that, I will absolutely work with you, Senator Langford, and anybody else who says, okay, you know what, I think this needs to be changed. You look at this and may say, you know what, I don't think these pieces are enforceable.
All right, let's move the debate on.
Wait a minute. I haven't yielded, Senator Paul. This is an important debate. I think we should take all the time that we need. I think it's absolutely vital that we get it right and get it as close as we can. But what I do not want to do, and what I will not consent to, and what I'm going to be very critical of, are attempts to kill it, where it is, well, you know, this is not quite right, so we're going to kill it here. And this is not quite what I want, so we're going to kill it. I don't want to kill it. I want to move it. I want to move it. I want to get this enacted. I want the American people to be able to trust this body. And I think that's why this vote today is so important.
All right, let's move it along. On the question of stablecoin that Senator Langford brings up, the hope is that someday in the near future, it may be that everything you purchase on Amazon, that stablecoin is a choice. It may be at Walmart you use it. So you're passing a law today that somehow may prohibit anybody in office from shopping on Amazon. So this isn't a very well thought out bill. We have a couple over here. Senator Gallego.
And in case anyone's wondering, I am not the billionaire.
There's way more credit than he's getting right now. If you believe Congress should play by the same rules as the rest of us, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into it. All right, we just watched the whole thing, and I have a lot to say. First, let's just acknowledge something. Josh Hawley has been working on this bill for 7 years. 7 years. This is not someone who woke up last Tuesday and decided stock trading reform would make a good headline. This is someone who has been grinding through multiple Congresses and multiple administrations, making compromises and building support, all to get something real done. That kind of persistence deserves respect. Now, the debate with Senator Langford was genuinely interesting. Langford chairs the Ethics Committee, so of course he's going to defend the current system. But here's the problem. Defending the current system, I ask the problem. On the blind trust argument, Langford says they work, they're policed, everything is fine. And Hawley says no, they don't work. And he's right. Every time a member of Congress gets caught in a potential securities violation, the excuse is always the same. Oh, I had someone managing that. I didn't know anything about it. And then it turns out they were talking to their trustee the whole time. Blind trusts are workarounds dressed up in legal language, and the fact that the Ethics Committee approves them doesn't make them clean. On divestment, Langford asks why members should have to sell their stocks instead of just stopping trades. I get the argument. Someone worked hard, built wealth, has a family inheritance. Why liquidate everything just to serve in Congress? But Hawley's answer is the right one. It's not just about trading, it's about owning. If you're sitting in a classified briefing about a pharmaceutical company and you own stock in that company, you have a conflict of interest. You don't have to trade a single share for that conflict to exist. The ownership itself is the problem. On stablecoins, I'll give Langford some credit here because it's actually a fair point. Stablecoins are pegged to the dollar. They don't move in value. So banning members from holding what is essentially a digital dollar does feel like overreach. And to Hawley's credit, he doesn't dig in on this one. He says if you want to change that on the floor, let's talk. That's what a serious legislator looks like, someone who wants the bill to pass more than they want to be right. Here's what struck me most about this whole exchange, though. On one side, you have people saying this isn't perfect. We need more time. We need to think this through more carefully. And on the other side, you have someone saying, I know it's not perfect. I've known that for 7 years. But the American people deserve something. That is the heart of this whole debate. Perfection has been the enemy of progress on this issue for a long time. Every time reform gets close, someone finds a reason to slow it down or kill it quietly in committee. And meanwhile, the public, across party lines and across every demographic, wants Congress to stop trading stocks. This is not controversial among voters. It's only controversial among the people whose portfolios depend on keeping things exactly as they are. Hawley is right. The American people want their representatives living by the same rules they do. They want to know that when a senator casts a vote, they're voting for their constituents and not their brokerage account. Is this bill perfect? No. Are there things that need fixing? Sure. But what Hawley is trying to do here is exactly right. He's trying to restore something that's been broken for a long time, basic trust between the people and the people who represent them. And honestly, the pushback he got in that room today tells you everything about why this has taken 7 years to get this far. I'm in Hawley's corner on this one, and I hope after watching that, You are too. Thanks for watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Should Congress be banned from trading stocks? I want to hear from you. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.